Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesome homesteading channel on the entire internet that has absolutely nothing to do whatsoever with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. If I were to rename this channel, which I will never take the time to do, it would be called Living Outside the Matrix. Why? Well, clearly we don't homestead, and clearly we're not off the electrical / communications grid. I'm on the internet. Used to do the homesteading thing, got away from it for multiple reasons. For those of you already know them if you've been following for a while. But these are some of the things I'm going to talk about today. The title of the video says, this is what they don't want you to know. Or, they don't want you to, something about that. What is it they don't want us to know? The truth. About what? Well, about a lot of stuff. And I'm going to talk about some key issues. Bigfoot, Sasquatch, is that one of them? Yeah, I'm going to address that. But mostly aging. Listen, it's just crazy. I was thinking on the way up here about, just the title. This is what they don't want you to know. And yeah, I'll take a screenshot of me pointing at what I believe to be a shadow, but it might be something else. And I'll circle it in red because, yeah, guess what? That'll draw more views. Is that clickbait? Call it what you want. It's how this business works. It's how this industry works. And with a title like that, though, what they don't want you to know, a lot of people would glance at that and say, oh, gosh, this guy's a conspiracy theorist. He's a nutcase. And then I thought about that and I thought, how crazy are the times we live in when you possess a little bit of common sense, which, as we all know, isn't very common anymore, and you think for yourself rather than thinking with the masses, which if you take off the M, that's what they really are, then you're called a conspiracy theorist, right? However, for those of you that still come around, despite my shadow ban from this platform because of my refusal to e-beg from you and tell you to send me super chats. We used to get 30 million views a month. Now, nowhere near that because Google called me and said, hey, you got 300,000 subscribers. We want to help you get to the next level. And of course, that entailed me telling you, send me a super chat. So I'll say your name or whatever. They were like, you got, if you just get everybody to send you $1 a year, that's $300,000. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I already make way more than that without people who need their money more than I need their money sending me their money. They're like, oh, okay. So they shadow ban me. So now, you don't get the notifications I've uploaded, etc., etc. It's okay because now we're on multiple social media platforms. They spurred me to action and I make more money on those platforms than I ever made here. So I'm still not going to e-beg. My point of this is what is and what most people believe is, because that's what they're told, are as different as day and night, and what they think is often as far from reality as possible. What they don't want us to know, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, is it real, is it not? Or he or she, it, they, them, whatever. I don't know. And I'll have people recently, longtime follower, blasting me in the comment section because I happen to just scroll through it and read it. I typically just don't even read comments. It's because it's not cost effective. It's a waste of my time. But every now and then, if I'm totally bored, I do. Anyways, this person was like, you should be having face-to-face conversations with Bigfoot, Sasquatch by now, but you're still doing stupid stuff. That's why I stopped watching you. Sorry, not sorry. Please respect my privacy in this moment, as one out of my 1.3 million viewers have made it known to me that they're not going to watch me anymore. Okay, so listen, I've never come out here and said he, she, it, or they does exist. I've never come out and said he, she, they do not exist. And that pisses a lot of people off because they want you to pick sides. If I don't have enough facts, and I'm just not going to do it, even though most people want to. That's why I'm not into politics. I was approached recently by some old economy media organization wanting to do an interview. I didn't even return the call, and I won't return the call. And this happens regularly. I'm not political, but a lot of people take a lot of the things I say on here as political in nature. They're not. That's just how I think. So they wanted to discuss social issues and politics. Not going to waste my time, not just because I don't care to talk about politics or even social issues. I know the value of my time. And listen, old economy is dead. Old media forms are dead. Who was it? National Geographic approached me about 2 years ago because they wanted to take a clip out of a video from my YouTube channel to put it into a documentary they were making on Bigfoot Sasquatch. It was from the video. Let me tell you, listen, if you're new to the channel because you just found out your kid's football coach is me, or because you're maybe, you take it as if I've been bashing public school teachers and so you're here over that. No, because that's what the person was contacting me about. I bash the idiocy of the old economy and how it doesn't make sense anymore, and how basically that's what the public schools are training our children to do. Continue to exist in a cycle that's broken and doesn't work, in that they are trained to become worker bees, servants, slaves, lifelong peasants. Okay? So National Geographic wanted this clip, and my first question was, well, how much you gonna pay me? And they were like, you want payment? I'm like, yeah, that's my copywritten material. It was the video, by the way. This is what I was getting at. Search it after this if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen it. It's called He Discovers the Lair of Bigfoot Sasquatch, and it's made loud and clear that he is not welcome. Just put in Bigfoot Sasquatch Lair Discovers, homesteading off the grid. It'll come up. That video was never featured on YouTube, but it still got over 1 million views organically. When people ask me, come on, tell us really I tell them there's 2 videos I've made that send chills down my spine. Even to this day, if I think about it, I get affected. That's one of them, because we caught something on that video that until now I cannot explain. It said like the 17.5 minute mark if you just want to fast forward to it. I don't care if you don't watch the whole video. It doesn't matter to me. So National Geographic called. They wanted to put that clip in there. So I asked them, how much are you going to pay me? And so they were just shocked I wanted payment. And so they said they'd ask their editor, then get back in touch with me. So they got back in touch and they were like, well, we're not actually going to pay you, but listen, you're going to get major exposure because, we're National Geographic and yada, yada, yada. I said, I don't need your exposure. I have more followers on the internet than you do, National Geographic. And they were like, what? Yeah, so anyway, I'm not wasting my time contacting or returning contacts from any of these dinosaurs out there, old economy, just tangible stuff. People who make things really that are not necessary. If they're not required, it's like, and you'll hear people say, oh, but like with investing, hey, real estate's a good investment. But aside from that, like a lot of folks won't do equities like stocks. And when I was a stockbroker, people would always say, I want something I can touch. You can touch dinosaur bones. Okay. And that's where all this old economy stuff is going. And it's sad. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to move on about this truth stuff, because there's some stuff that could really help you with your life, okay? And I wore these, so I remember to talk about it. But public school teachers, no, I don't hate them by any means. I have friends, some good friends that are public school teachers. I have a sister that she used to be a public school teacher, but she kind of thinks more like me. She knows the old economy is like burning to ashes. So she got into the virtual homeschool teaching several years ago now, and she not only enjoys it more because she can work from home, and when her day is done, she doesn't have to piss away $76 a day, which is what it costs. If you work outside of your home, once you consider gas, wear and tear on your car, your lunch, all this stuff, it costs you $76 a day if you work outside of your home. I don't know why anybody does it anymore. Unless if it's required. We have a very good friend who's a nurse who now works from home. She only has to go to the hospital once every 2 weeks because she's in management. She doesn't have to be there, and she's going on and on about how much better her quality of life is now that she's not commuting, being around crowds, wasting her time doing stuff that she had done for years that could have been done at home. what we went through with COVID woke a lot of people up. And with me, watching my kid at home doing virtual learning 2 or 3 hours a day during those times, I told my wife we should never send him back to the public schools. There were a couple of times in which he was bullied. We took care of that. We contacted the school and let the school know that we have given our son our explicit permission to beat his bully into a bloody pulp the next time that child bullied him. Well, guess what? The freaking school did something about it. It never happened again. And no, my child didn't beat that other child into a bloody pulp, and they're actually friends today. The school did contact me to make sure I understood that violated their school policies. And I said, I don't care. You've got your policies. Our family has ours. We have a zero tolerance policy for bullying. And I tell my kids that I coach. I say, if anybody on this team or in school or anywhere else is bullying you, you let me know and I'll take care of it. Okay, but there was a teacher. We loved every teacher our son had in grade school, except one. And we didn't like her. We didn't hate her. Listen, it takes as much energy to hate someone as it does to love someone. And I refuse to give somebody that I don't care for the same amount of emotional energy that I do give to my wife and my son. So I refuse to hate. And it's for a very selfish reason. It's not because of, hate has no place here and all that rah-rah. The Celebrate Diversity crowd, it's funny. One of their trucks went by yesterday, and I said to my wife, I said, you know what? We're diverse. Why don't they celebrate us? I said, you're Asian, I'm white, our son's biracial. How come they don't celebrate us? And she says, because we don't think like them. We're not political, but we are conservative in nature. Traditional family values, that kind of stuff. Understanding that everybody is in the position they are in life because of the choices they've made in their past to get them here. And you know what's so wonderful about that, and I've talked about that before in other videos, is if you don't like where you are, make different choices. And in the future, you'll be in a different place. Make different choices, take different actions based upon different choices, and you'll be in a different place. That is so liberating. Okay, so anyway, the one teacher we didn't care for, she was a little older. She had been teaching for over 30 years. She did not want to be there. I mean, she reeked of burnout. You could just tell, okay? She's passed away. She developed cancer and died quickly. And I have said, when this has come up, when we found out about it, I said the saddest thing about that is that she spent the majority of her life and all of her working years. Now, at one point, she might have enjoyed teaching. At one point, she might have loved it. She might have been passionate about it. But those days were clearly in her distant past. What was so unfortunate is that she spent X amount of years of her life doing something she did not want to be doing, and then she died. It's like day after day, doing what I don't want to be doing. Day after day, doing what I don't want to be doing. Next day, I'm dead. And I'm using her as an example. She's one of millions of people who did this, or there are people currently doing it. They're going to jobs they hate that make them miserable. They're not even paying their bills. They're living off of credit cards or home equity lines of credit, going around thinking we're believing their lies. Driving up in a new car every 2 years saying, best thing about it is it's paid for. Yeah, it's paid for because you wrote the check off your HELOC, home equity line of credit. That ain't paid for, okay? But it's old economy. It's old economy mindset. And they do this, and then they die. It's sad. It's sad. I wouldn't wish it upon anybody, and I certainly don't live that way. Me being all kooky kook up here in the woods, making a video a couple times a week and posting 36 times a day on Facebook, and now doing reels on Instagram and blah, blah, blah. Spending 2 hours a day total working. 2 hours a day working. Earning in the top 1 percentile of the world's population and living a life of freedom that most people will never know. I didn't say a life of luxury because I don't care about stuff. You know where I get my clothes? The Goodwill. Why? Because it's cheap. I've got some Vineyard Vine stuff. I let the yuppies buy that stuff for $120, wear it once, donate it to Goodwill, and then I go in and buy it for $4, okay? And then I wear it when I spend the winters in the tropics. Because I'm free. I'm not tied down to that old economy job that I hate, that makes me miserable, that I have to go to every day, okay? Hoping that when I'm 65, I can finally quit and get my little pension that will provide 60% of the income I need, so I only have to work part-time after that. Oh, or I could drop dead. So let's turn the page and talk about something, another truth they don't want you to know. Something they do not want you to know. It has to do with death, okay? What is the number one cause of premature death, not just in the United States, but the world over? The world over. If you're saying living, well, of course, once we're born, we start dying, so you better get to living if you haven't yet. And there's a lot of you watching that are in your 40s and 50s and 60s who have not yet begun to live. Get out there before you're out of time. But no, living that's the number one cause of death, is living. What is the number one cause of premature death? You can Google it. You know what you'll find when you do a Google search? Because I did Google it, because I wanted to make sure I'm giving correct information. Is it illnesses associated with obesity, such as diabetes, heart disease, all these things? Hey, they're up there, and they'll tell you, yeah, that's what it is. Obesity, they claim, is the leading cause of premature death in America now, due to the fact that it does lead to all these other illnesses and bodily dysfunctions. It does cause death, but that's not the truth. They don't want you to know the truth. The leading cause of death, or premature death, not just in the United States but the world over, is inactivity. Inactivity. You're like, oh, come on, that's, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you get fat if you're inactive and blah, blah, blah. Oh, but except, wait, I have a health, listen, there are people that have thyroid problems. I have a family member who had certain health conditions that caused her to be obese for many, many years until they got it in check and figured out how to deal with it medically. Those people are out there, but they're the vast minority. The number one cause of obesity is inactivity. Yeah, there's diet. That's part of it. But I eat what I want, and that's one of the wonderful things about being active. If I want to drink some beers after a hard day's work, if I want to binge on pizza, donuts, hot wings, I can do that and get away with it, and I still have, well, I don't have a six-pack. I'm still pretty buff and fit and trim because I exercise every day. Now, why don't they want us to know this truth? Inactivity is a leading cause of death. Oh my goodness, look at all the money we could save in healthcare and pharmaceuticals and yada, yada, yada. That's why they don't want you to know that truth, because there's so much money in disillusion. You see these? I've had these for 2 months. I will wear these for 2 more months. After that period, they will still look as if they're practically new. But after that period, they will go into a box that will be sent to our family in the Philippines. We send these boxes over there about every quarter, once a quarter. And one of the things I put in the box are my running shoes. These are very high quality. They're Asics. They cost $110. I get the same type 4 times a year. 3 times a year. They last me 4 months because I put about 1,000 miles on them during that period of running. So their support system will break down. Even though they look new, I get rid of them, because if you run or walk in shoes that you wore out with the broken support system built for your stride, your form, you'll get hurt. And so even though they look new, I replace them so I don't get injured. They go to the Philippines, where my brothers-in-law, my cousins-in-law, men take turns who gets what. And usually when we send the box, there's at least 2 or 3 pairs in there. And so everybody gets, and so they can wear them. And now they have different forms and different gaits than me, so they're not going to get injured. And they don't run; they're not runners. They wear them just casual wear. They're not going to get injured because the support system is broken down where I break it down. So here's my point: they cost me $110 3 times a year. That's $330. That is the greatest form of health insurance, by the way. You can a pair of running shoes, and then The hardest part of running, Jim Fix said it in a book he wrote years ago. I think was it called On Running? I don't know. He said the hardest part of running is overcoming inertia. That's a physics term. It means getting up off your butt and going out and doing it. So, with this said, inactivity is the leading cause of premature death in America and the world over. Richard Simmons, fitness guru, died recently a month ago. God rest his soul. I liked Richard Simmons. I remember watching him when I was a kid. They finally came out with the cause of his death, and it was blunt force trauma associated with a fall that he had in his home. He was 76 years old. Now, Richard Simmons, for decades, for a couple of generations, was fit, active, healthy. In the last few years of his life, he kind of became a recluse. He wouldn't leave home. He became inactive. He was going through a depression. And one of the reasons, this is my opinion, I haven't read this. I think I did read this. He stayed hidden because he didn't want the public to see him like that, not because it would ruin his legacy, but because he was afraid that so many of the people that he motivated in the past would become demotivated. Or that if there were people out there that he was still motivating through his old videos, his old workout videos on YouTube or on VHS, remember those? They might become demotivated. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to motivate people, and when he was in a state where he couldn't motivate people, he stayed out of sight. Ultra respect. It reminds me of a guy. Many of you have probably heard this story. There's a guy named Bill W. who he was the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. On his deathbed when he died, and he had been sober for 40 some years or something, but on his deathbed, he was screaming for a drink. He wanted a drink so badly. And a lot of people use that to discredit him and to discredit his program. I would never do that. I honestly think Bill W. was sending a message to people who struggle with addiction, and that message is that no matter how long you've been sober, no matter how long you've been clean, it is always going to be there. That's just the way I see things. So anyway, inactivity is the leading cause of death, premature death. Now, we're going to talk about aging, because your level of activity greatly affects the way you age. Aging is simply, it's the combination of the wear and tear on our bodies due to activity plus time combined with our pursuit of comfort. Our pursuit of comfort, okay? A lot of people simply define aging as the pursuit of comfort. That's dangerous, because here's what happens as we become more and more comfortable, as we achieve total comfort. We become soft. We become soft. And when we become soft, we're going to die quicker because we get sick. Our bodies start becoming ill. They start breaking down. And it's due to the lack of activity. A lot of folks say, I have a neighbor that's very active. He's in his mid-70s. He is outside every day gardening, walking, working in his forest, clearing his trails. He's told, and he doesn't look 76. He looks like he's in his 50s. Have another neighbor that's very inactive who's actually in his 50s who looks 76. I've told that story before. It's because the older guy's active, the younger guy isn't. The older guy looks young, he's healthy, he's vibrant. The other guy, he looks like he's in his 70s and just sitting around waiting to die. Once you achieve anything in life, say, even if it's money, say, I want to be a millionaire. What happens once you accumulate $1 million worth of assets? A lot of times people just stop working because they got their goal. It works the same with comfort. Once you've achieved the comfort level you're at, and people will do this with money. For example, let's say you have a job in the new economy, such as me, and you hit a certain threshold. I've done this. I'm guilty of this. I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on YouTube here a few years back, and I was comfortable, so I just didn't work hard until YouTube shadow banned me. Then I had to go make all that back plus a lot more on other social media platforms, and I'm comfortable now. So I work 2 hours a day. If I worked 4 hours a day, I'd make over $1 million a year. Promise you that. Why? Well, you're probably saying, well, why don't you? Well, because I'm comfortable making half that. And what's important to me is where I spend my time. I'd rather spend that coaching youth sports that my son is involved with, that my wife is involved with, as a football mom, going to every practice, all the games, hanging out with the other football moms, being there to support not just their kids, but the kids who don't have parents there. Somebody asked me recently, what's your wife do? I said, what my wife does is she be a full-time mother to her son, and she's a full-time wife to her husband. And they looked at me like, what's that even mean? Well, what that means is she's got the hardest job in the world that gets the least amount of respect. That's what my wife does. But she loves it, and she doesn't care, and she's from a different culture. She's from the Philippines. And in Eastern culture, it's more common to see women still doing that. Of course, I didn't go seek her out. A lot of times people first meet me, especially American women. I think there's this assumption, I can read it in their face, oh, this guy's got to be a misogynist. Got this beautiful young woman from a third world country. He went over there to get her because couldn't get a woman here. Number two, he wanted someone to stay in the bedroom and the kitchen. Not even close to the truth. And if people spend a little bit of time with me, getting to know me, they figure that out pretty quick. And how do I know they think this? Because I've had them tell me. And they say, I feel so bad, but when I first met you, I thought, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, it's all good. You think what you want about me, because I don't think about you at all. I'm surrounded. There were footsteps back here, and now there were footsteps over here. We're hearing the crows, which typically are harbingers of he, she, it, or they. I'm not seeing anything. It's crazy. Keep getting my 6. So yeah, listen. It's important to me to stay fit, to stay active. I love life. And there are times when, listen, I'm just going to spit some numbers out there. This morning I stepped on the scales when I got up, and I weighed 173 pounds. On my birthday, my 50th birthday, which was last November while I was in the Philippines, I weighed 203 pounds. So I've lost 30 pounds in 9 or 10 months. Largely since I've been back home, and I'm able to live the active lifestyle I live out here, living in the country, running every day, mountain biking on the days I don't run, being involved with youth sports. Over there, I put on that weight due to inactivity, and it didn't take long. And what I noticed when I put on that weight and I wasn't active was that my knees hurt, my back hurt, and I have a back problem due to my time in service, the war in Iraq. But even with that, if I do nothing, I have more pain associated from my back injury from Iraq than I do if I do nothing. And this is what a lot of folks, you'll hear people say, oh, at my age, everything hurts. And I make those funny posts on Sick Twisted Humor on Facebook. It's not true. Everything hurts because you're inactive and you're out of shape. So if I were to come downstairs when I was fat, my knees hurt. I found myself, I typically always take the stairs just because I like the extra activity. I was taking elevators. We lived in a condo over there our first month there till we moved out of it after experiencing 3 earthquakes, 2 of which were over 7 in like a 10-day period. We left the condo and then we rented a house in a gated community for the rest of the other 4 months we were there. But I started taking the elevator in the condo not to save time, but because my knees hurt going down the stairs. Why? It wasn't because I just turned 50. It was because I just turned fatty. I was a fat guy, and it hurt. Now, still got a few pounds to go before I'm at my ideal weight. My knees don't hurt. I go up and down the stairs in our house or anywhere else without pain. Despite my back injury from the war, it doesn't hurt because I'm not carrying around the extra weight. I've got to watch bending. I can lift heavy stuff and I can run. If I'm doing perpetual bending, that's when it starts to hurt. So I've got to watch that. So anyway, this is why it's important to me, not just because it feels better, but because my wife is 14 years younger than me. I do have a son, a 13-year-old son. Most people my age, they're grandparents already. I still have a little kid I'm raising. I don't want to die so many years before they do because of the age difference that I miss that time with them. So it's important to me to stay fit, to stay healthy, to offset the natural aging process by not allowing myself to become soft. I mentioned I live a dream life, but I don't live in luxury. I don't want those luxuries because those luxuries make you soft. And once you become soft, you start getting sick. I know people who do not go outside once the temperatures are maybe 10 degrees higher than whatever their air conditioner is set to, in the summer. They don't go outside once temperatures reach 10 degrees lower than what their heat is set to in the winter. That's because, and listen, I've had some of these people tell me, they say, well, I'm spoiled, we're spoiled. And I tell them, no, you're comfortable. Number one, you're comfortable. Number two, you're not spoiled, because the people I know who we've had this conversation with have worked to earn their comfort. They weren't born rich. Some of them, like myself, were born into poverty, but they made themselves upper middle class or wealthy by their own means, through their own efforts. So they deserve to be comfortable. However, the downside of comfort is that when you become comfortable, you become soft. So I spent a lot of time in third world countries where, despite living within the best comforts of those communities, you're still uncomfortable by American standards, okay? I will not allow myself to become overly comfortable while I'm here, because I will become overly soft. And then when I go to those places, it's hell. It's hell. Now, I don't deny myself. I don't deny my family. We know there's a limit between, being comfortable and being extremely comfortable to the point to where we would become soft. We do not want to become soft. I was having a conversation yesterday with a woman who's a psychiatrist. She's not my psychiatrist. She just happens to be a psychiatrist. And she works for an organization that represents disabled veterans in their pursuit of acquiring benefits through the Veterans Administration. And the reason she does that is because she used to work for the VA, and she knows all the dirty little tricks they do, and she coaches veterans for their VA appointments if they filed a disability claim. And she doesn't tell them to lie. She tells them how to state the truth in such a way that it'll get through the VA screens. And she told me something that blew my mind. And this happened to me a few years ago, and I'll tell you the quick version of it in case you forgot here in a minute. But she says, anytime you go to the VA, you've got to go in there. Anytime you talk to the healthcare providers, be it mental health or physical health, you've got to put yourself in your worst day scenario mindset. For example, there are times I have bad days. I do have PTSD, all the bad stuff that goes with that, insomnia, nightmares, quick startle reflex, anxiety disorders, all this stuff. I do my absolute best to live with that, and I think I do a pretty good job at it. And I don't take meds. I'm on 0 medications for anything. 50 years old. You know what my medication is? Fitness. I'll go out there and get a runner's high. I don't need no drugs. Okay, so anyway, if you walk into the VA and they say, oh, hey, how are you doing today? If you say, oh, I'm great, how are you? They will make a notation of that and recommend that your disability rating be decreased or taken away entirely because you're doing great. Well, wait a minute. Your records say you have PTSD. You have, you're supposed to have depression, anxiety, insomnia, nightmares. You can't be doing great. And the doctor asked, hey, you said you're doing great. You don't have this. And they will take your benefits away from you. And you don't just, lose whatever piddly little check you might get. You lose your free health care for that. You lose the ability to go see a mental health specialist at the VA for free because, you said you're doing great. So it's things like that she works with. And we were talking about, because again, what is it they don't want you to know? It's truth. I told her about the book I wrote called Off Switch, available on Amazon and print or Kindle, from our Etsy store, autographed from me, sent out from me. And the research I did behind that and the things and about how, here's another reason people don't want to know the truth, not just because there's no money in it, but because people don't want to hear what goes against their current belief system. That's why people who watch the news, which I don't, typically if you're liberal, you're going to watch CNN. If you're conservative, you're going to watch Fox. Why? Because those networks confirm what you already believe. People don't watch the news to find out the truth or the other side of the story. They want their current belief systems confirmed so they can be right. Human nature. So what they want to see, and I used this example yesterday talking to this woman, what people want to see as far as veterans returning from war, They want to see that scene where there's a high school football game and there's that, 16-year-old girl down there cheering on the sideline. She's a cheerleader for the football game, and here comes daddy jumping over the fence in his army uniform. He just got home from the war, and she had no clue he was coming home from his deployment, and they embrace and they hug, and they're both crying, and everybody in the stands is crying. That's what they want to see. They don't want to see the guys like me who come home and their daughters are gone because their ex-wives moved them to a different country during their deployment. Okay? Because they don't want that truth. And I told her that, and she said she was invited to speak at a symposium by a general in D.C. And this woman is from Texas. She was invited to D.C. to speak about how to help veterans once they return from war. So they had to interview her, of course. They didn't like her answers. And she said, but this is the truth. This is the only way you can help these guys get better. You know what the general told her? He said, ma'am, that might be the truth, but it's not patriotic. That's when I told her what I told her. It's patriotic to see daddy coming home from war, embracing his cheerleader daughter, and the whole stadium cries. Nothing patriotic about saying, and I'm just one of many. I have so many battle buddies who came home from war. Wife gone, kids gone, house gone, bank accounts cleaned out, vehicles gone. It's so common you couldn't swing a cat by a tail without hitting one of these guys if you're in a room full of veterans. But it's not patriotic to tell those stories. People don't want to hear those truths. I told them in the book Off Switch, go read it. It's full of them. All right, so I got to wrap this up because I got some other work I got to do today. I'm spending time with my son today alone. We're having some father and son time. He's had to share me with the whole football team, 26 other kids for the last 3 weeks now, and those kids are wonderful kids. They have inspired me. We have kids on our team who in the first week wanted to quit. And they were being challenged, and I talked about this a week ago. It wasn't so much that they couldn't do it or that they were weak or that they were sissies. It's because they had gotten out of their comfort zones, and some of them for the first time. They left that air-conditioned room in the mini mansion here in Albemarle County, Virginia, and went outside where it was hotter than 10 degrees above their temperature setting in their home. They were doing things physically that was harder than doing this with video game controllers. And I'm not singling out any one kid. This is half the team, okay? So if you're a parent or if you're on my team, don't think I'm speaking directly of you. No, it was half the team. Now, this week, the starting lineup came out, and there were kids who wanted to quit because they were so far out of their comfort zone. Some of them, tears were coming out of their eyeballs. Some of those kids are on the starting lineup. Yeah. And you're hearing them talk about how they can't wait to hit the kids on the opposing team we're playing in our first game as hard as they can to let them know who they are. I have seen kids who had zero confidence become as confident as a lion. And it's a beautiful thing. It's because they've been active, they've been challenging themselves, they've risen to the challenge, they've gotten outside of their comfort zone, and they have found success. They discovered the secret of where success lies, and it's on the other side of our comfort zones. Thanks for spending some more time with me here at the most awesome homesteading channel on the planet that has nothing to do with homesteading, quite a bit to do with life. See you for more next time. Oh yeah, homesteading off the grid. See you for more next time.